Talk about football.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 14 of the We Like Football podcast, or sort of episode 14. This is the first time that we've talked to you in 5 months, so it almost feels like episode 1. I'm Hayden. That's Andy. Just like the playoffs, the boys are back. We are ready to talk about some football. Buddy, how you doing?
Woo, I'm living. I'm a little depressed after the results of this Super Wild Card Sunday's outings. Obviously, we saw my Pittsburgh Steelers get curb stomped. Your Eagles didn't fare much better. We're going to jump into that momentarily, but first I want to give a shout out to the fine folks joining us. If you're joining us, which is to say thanks to the moms, dads, stepdads, in-laws, future in-laws. I could say that Amanda doesn't watch this. We do apologize for the long layoff. Hayden and I got busy stacking paper, coaching real life ball clubs, working on our fitness, crying ourselves to sleep, et cetera, et cetera. But we're back now to talk about Dak's Big Goof, SpongeBob, Taco Bell, and a bunch more. There's no promises, but we do hope it's a lot of fun and we retain that charismatic charm you came to love so much about this time last year.
I really thought that we were going to keep the crying ourselves to sleep between us, but now that it's out in the world, yeah, you can kind of see how the sausage is made. To piggyback off that, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being lenient. Like Andy said, stacking paper, cashing checks, breaking necks, all that good stuff. It is unfortunate, and this happened a little bit of time ago, but we do have to kind of start the episode on a somber note. One of our biggest fans, Tim Chandler, unfortunately passed away at the age of 31 back in November. Man, it sucks.
Yeah, that was honestly, it was your idea to shout him out, and that's appropriate because Tim, and let me preface this by saying that Tim was more of an acquaintance than like a good buddy of mine or Hayden's. I met him when I was in middle school, so 15, 20 years ago. We hung out a handful of times because I worked at Schuylkill Valley Sports and he worked at Office Max across the way. But I don't think I saw the dude in more than 10 years. All right. We'd occasionally trade football chirps because Tim liked the Cowboys and Notre Dame, which I know, but otherwise, great guy. We'd trade football chirps and new rap music on Facebook a lot, but that was more or less the extent of our relationship. So it was a surprise to us both when he emerged as probably We Like Football's biggest and most vocal supporter. Hayden never met Tim. I don't know if he ever heard of him. He asked me, who the hell is this guy and why does he like us so much? But that's the kind of guy Tim was. He didn't need to support us. We were just guys who knew each other from across the way, two ships passing in the night. But that's just the kind of guy he was. He was cheerful, funny, supportive, legitimately rooted for other success. Put simply, he was a legitimately good guy in a world where that's far too rare a trait. We appreciate his support, of course, and we're sad to see him go. I can't ever say I'd be happy to see the Cowboys hoist a Lombardi, but I'd be happy for Tim. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen this year because the Cowboys cowboyed again. As I said, we're going to get into all that, but we did just want to note here before we did so that our thoughts and prayers are with Tim and his family. We want to thank him for his support and remind him that the Cowboys do still suck. Tim, rest in peace, buddy.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, like you said, I had never met him in person, but you said it perfectly. He was one of our biggest and most vocal supporters. I remember one of the first episodes we put out. I saw Tim kind of share it on social media, and he put in there like, you might not know these guys, but I believe in these guys. And that was something that sort of resonated with me, again, not knowing him, but just like having somebody that doesn't know me kind of believe in what we're doing and, think highly of us. It was awesome. Thoughts and prayers to his wife. I know he has a young daughter as well, certainly gone too soon, but like you said, rest easy, Tim Chandler. There's no easy transition. There's no good transition. So I guess we just have to kind of move on to the football. Before we hit the football that happened yesterday, it is officially time for me to take my victory lap. Carson Wentz played 75% of the snaps for the Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts did not make the playoffs. The Eagles recouped a first-round pick for one Carson Wentz. The last episode, this is how long it's been since we talked about football. The last episode, we talked about Carson Wentz, and maybe he would play 75% of the snaps. Maybe he would not. He did. He was worth first-round pick. I was right. In a word, nana, nana, boo-boo. Go me.
Congratulations on your first. I believe that's 3 for the Birds now.
It is. Yeah, 3 first-round picks. Rebuilding is looking mighty fine.
Yeah, they went out with the whimper, but there are definitely reasons to be optimistic so long as Jalen Reagor is nowhere near that ball club next year. But again, we're going to get there. We don't want to jump too far ahead. First, we're going to talk about Saturday's action, which began with the number 5 seed Las Vegas Raiders heading to Cincinnati, who was the number 4. These were two teams vying for their first playoff wins in decades. The Raiders since 2002, or after the 2002 season. The Bengals hadn't won a playoff game since 1990. That much was made about that going into the game for obvious reasons. Bengals fans got to send their victory text message, being that the last time they won a playoff game, text messaging was not a thing. The internet was not a thing. You and I weren't things.
We weren't things. No, we were not born. No. Yeah, no. Congratulations to the Cincinnati Bengals. They pulled off that victory, 26-19. It wasn't a surprise that this was a close game either. The Raiders had won their last 4 games of the season by a combined 12 points. So it really wasn't a surprise that this came down to the wire. Also, Joe Burrow is like clutch in need to win games. I saw this tweet and I wanted to share it. It was from Dan Orlovsky. And he played in Joe Burrow, that is, played in 6 have-to-have-it games, like win or go home type of games at LSU. And then, well, actually he played in 4 at LSU and then 2 with the Cincinnati Bengals, 6 overall. In those games, he was 6-0. He had almost 3,000 passing yards. He averaged 444 passing yards per game in those 6 games and had 27 touchdowns. Joe Burrow knows how to win football games. The Cincinnati Bengals certainly knew how to win this football game.
Yeah, these are a different group of Bengals. I don't even, excuse me, I don't hate them the way I hated the Vontaze Burfict era Bengals. They are a lot of, we're back, baby, fun to watch. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase it's been 1 year, excluding their LSU time together, obviously, 1 year in the pros, and they are damn near unguardable. Jamar Chase high points the ball better than maybe anyone in football. That back shoulder throw they have is lethal. The ball placement, Jamar Chase's quick twitch ability, he dupes corners. He's unfair. I'm jealous, frankly. I'm jealous. I hate to say it, but I'm scared of the Bengals in the AFC North for years to come. They look legit. They look like a wagon.
Yeah, and like you said, kind of developed that chemistry at LSU. There was talk in the preseason when Jamar Chase was having some struggles with catching the football. There's something about how the Duke is bigger than the college football ball that's used, and he can't catch it, and that's going to be an issue. Yeah, somebody should remind him that he can't catch the football because, boy, howdy, all he was productive this year. Some parts of the game, there was certainly controversy in a lot of the games between yesterday and Saturday. I'm interested to see if there is tonight as well, but we do have to talk about the controversy that was the inadvertent whistle. So just to kind of paint a picture, if you kind of live under a rock, Joe Burrow was sort of under duress, got flushed out of the pocket, made his way towards the sideline, throws a touchdown to Tyler Boyd in the back of the end zone, but there was an inadvertent whistle that happened before Tyler Boyd caught the football. Refs came together, decided that it was still a touchdown. Rules be damned, even though an inadvertent whistle means that you replay the down, the play is stopped as soon as the whistle blows. But what do you think about that? Was there any more context to it? Did the Raiders get fucked?
You mean, did the Raiders get screwed? This is a PC program. I apologize for his vulgarity, folks. It won't happen again, probably. Anyway,
definitely happen again.
It will very much happen again.
Parents, this is what the little E means next to our episode names. That E is for explicit content. My bad.
Kids, that E used to be on CDs, which were discs, which we used to play music back in the day. I digress. Anyway, back to this Joe Burrow touchdown pass that wasn't, then was, then wasn't, then was again. If it happened to my team, I'd be a lot saltier. The way it played out, frankly, I'm not that bent out of shape because I do think Joe Burrow made a hell of a throw just before he stepped out, just behind the line of scrimmage. And I do think Tyler Boyd had his man beaten regardless. With the context of it was a millisecond and it was inadvertent. So I understand the argument after the fact. But it's not why the Raiders lost the game. So I'm not that bent about it. Like I said, if it happened to my team, I'm more biased, so I probably would be more fired up. But the way things turned out, I think the reason the Raiders lost the game Didn't have much to do with that phenomenal throw by Joe Burrow that may have came a tick after a whistle. It was largely their own miscues. I mean, the Bengals did play very well, don't get it twisted, but the Raiders had 7 penalties. They dug themselves a hole in the first half by getting penalties on them on a lot of third downs and like critical downs. They got penalties to back themselves up, just like pre-snap errors, things that playoff teams have to avoid. Although that was a trend this whole weekend. Lots of whistle blowing, lots of flag throwing. But to stick with this game here, the Raiders got penalized several times in key moments. They dug themselves a early hole. And then, of course, Peyton Barber fielded that kickoff along the sideline that looked to be headed out of bounds and really, really boned his team when they were, trying to hang in with Cincinnati. I thought that was their undoing. They had to rally late, and they just could not come up with the last play, thanks to a phenomenal red zone stand by the Bengals defense, which, again, I'm sorry if I'm rambling here, but I've known the Bengals as chokers forever and ever. I was waiting for that other shoe to drop for Derek Carr to throw a touchdown to Waller or Renfro or whoever. But no, instead, I believe it was Jermaine Pratt who stepped up with that colossal goal line pick to move the Bengals on to the next round for the first time in 30 years.
I want to go back to the Peyton Barber thing on the kickoff. What the hell was that? So I understand the idea, and this is something that teams or players have tried to do, where if you are part of the out of bounds and you touch the football, the ball gets moved up to the 35. It's an illegal kick out of bounds, right? Peyton Barber didn't even get close to establishing himself out of bounds. He kind of like jumped to try to get out of bounds. He's still in bounds at that point. And like you mentioned, it looked like the ball was going out of bounds anyway. So it probably was worth it to just let it go. I mean, worst case scenario, you're getting the ball at the 25, but now you're at the 2. Like, you're just putting your team in a hole. I thought that was just ridiculous. It made me chuckle when I watched it. You mentioned it. The refs were active a lot of the time this weekend. There was 14 penalties in this game for 102 yards. There was 7 penalties on each side. Actually, the Bengals had more yardage in penalties. They actually had 56 yards. Kind of sloppy, a sloppy weekend of football from a mistake standpoint. I thought that there was a dagger drive in that game as well. It didn't necessarily end it because, like you mentioned, the Raiders did go down and have a chance to win the game there at the end. But the Bengals did have a big fourth quarter drive. It was 12 plays, 65 yards, and it took about 7.5 minutes off the clock. It ended in 3 points instead of 6 points as they would have hoped to. But just being able to kind of methodically drive like that and hold on to the ball and not give the Raiders a chance to have an extra drive, which again, they did. But I thought that was pretty big on the Bengals. If they're going to make any more noise in the playoffs, I think that's something that they're going to have to take with them moving forward.
Yep. Obviously, they're moving on to see the Tennessee Titans in the divisional round, and that ball control offense will come in handy, especially against a returning Derrick King Henry. That game is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm rooting for the Tennessee Titans, but we are impartial, unbiased observers here on We Like Football podcast. So again, we'll say kudos to the Cincinnati Bengals. They look like a legitimate outfit, and they're going to be a tough out for Tennessee and perhaps moving forward. Mm-hmm. Another team who was mighty impressive on Saturday night. They say nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Who, boy, did they look like a wagon against their arch nemesis, New England Patriots. This wasn't even a game. The Bills spanked them 47-17. What'd you think about that one?
Yeah, I'm glad that I got to watch it from the comfort of my home and that I was not there. I saw before the game there were actually tickets that were available that were like $30. Now, I would never go to Buffalo and watch a game, but one of the reasons that I wouldn't, not just because it's super far away, but at Highmark Stadium, it was 6 degrees outside with a wind chill of -7. That's got to absolutely suck. You mentioned it, the trilogy was over kind of before it began. Josh Allen looks ridiculous. The Bills as a whole put on an offensive clinic. They had 7 possessions and 7 touchdowns on their first 7 possessions. It was just ridiculous. And I remember texting you during this game and being like, I'm never going to count out Bill Belichick in the playoffs. When it gets cold, even though they're down, you never count out the Patriots. You could have counted them out on Saturday.
Yeah, like you said, God bless the folks in attendance at that one, but especially so if you're a fan of the New England Patriots and you decide to make the trek. Oh boy, that would suck. If that was me, I would be the angriest mother effer because
Oh, very nice
yeah, you
censorship.
like
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Yeah. I'd be the angriest motherfucker on the planet.
It's explicit, kids. It's explicit.
I'd be so damn mad if I made that trip and sat in -6 degrees to watch my team get slapped around like that. It was unexpected. The Patriots went into Ralph Wilson earlier this year and kind of put it on the Bills by imposing their will, running the ball over 40 times, I believe. They had one of the best defenses in football all year long. I have noted in here, this is really worth noting given what the Bills just did. New England allowed 17.8 points per game this year. That was second best in the league to only the Buffalo Bills. In fact, during one 5-game stretch, the Patriots allowed a total of 36 points over 5 games. Hayden's a math guy, but I believe that's about 7 points a game. The Bills almost had that many by halftime alone. In the Bills' 2 meetings against New England this year, they totaled 43 points. Not bad, 21 and a half a game. Again, they topped that midway through the fourth quarter here. They probably could have had a couple more if they wanted. Like you said, they scored touchdowns on their first 7 offensive possessions. That's a playoff record in the Super Bowl era. And we mentioned those cold temps before. Boy, Josh Allen, that offense, they had no trouble heating up in cold weather. But Josh Allen's 157.6 passer rating is a shade under perfect, which I believe is 158.3. It is, however, the highest passer rating allowed by a Patriots defense in the Bill Belichick era. They never got him off his spot. They hardly touched him. New England's defense had 1 quarterback hit. Josh Allen had his way with them all game long. 308 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, and another 66 yards on the ground. He is going to be game for a matchup with Patrick Mahomes. I'm looking forward to that next week. But first, give me your thoughts on just how dominant they were this week.
Oh, that game is going to be awesome. Going back to kind of the offensive clinic that they put on, Buffalo ended the game with 0 punts, 0 field goal attempts, and 0 turnovers. It was just an absolute clinic on offense. Got to give the flowers to Brian Daboll. I'm going to football nerd out for a second. So if you don't care about X's and O's, just go ahead and skip past this part. The way that they use Josh Allen in the run game is so hard to stop. There was one play that I peeped. I believe it was in the second quarter, but the Bills ran what's called pin and pull to a nub side tight end, meaning there's only a tight end to that side of the formation. Essentially what you're doing when you run that play is you're getting one of your big hog mollies guaranteed to go out and just blow the hell up a corner. Right? That's a beautiful thing in football. And then to have Josh Allen be able to scoop behind those big offensive linemen, it's just awesome to watch. Brian Daboll was talked about a head coaching candidate last year. I think that's going to be a thing this year as well with all the head coaching vacancies. On the other side of the football too, Micah Hyde had a first half pick that was just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that dude flew across the field, tracked the football, went up and got it, came down with the football, like better than a lot of receivers could do. It really just was an absolute clinic from the Buffalo Bills top to bottom.
Yeah, it was their night. I forget who called that game, but they said something to that effect at one point. It wasn't so much that New England was playing poorly. It was just how well Buffalo was playing. You mentioned that pick by Micah Hyde. That was a nice ball by Mac Jones. The receiver had a shot at it under most circumstances, but Micah Hyde, like a goddamn torpedo, like flew in there. The Bills are, as I said, a wagon. They look every bit like a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Another thing I want to note before we move on to Sunday's action is that the Bills, all 12 of their wins this year have been by at least 12 points. That's nuts. I mean, they blow everybody out of the water. They're playing the Chiefs next week. They beat them by 18 last time around. I don't think that's going to happen again. But again, that's just a testament to how good these Bills have been when at their best, which they very much were on Saturday.
Yep. And we got the first big man touchdown of the weekend. There was a couple big man touchdowns this weekend. Josh Allen hit Tommy Doyle, brought in as an extra lineman. He's a rookie out of Miami of Ohio, a former high school hockey player. Going out there and catching the football. Love when fat guys score touchdowns. And just something else that we got to throw in here. Before we move on, there was a sex toy that was thrown onto the field into the end zone after a touchdown. What the hell are we doing up there in Buffalo? Just stick to the jumping through tables. You don't have to throw stuff on the field, especially not things that are as vulgar as that.
That's number 2. That's the second time that's happened. It's tradition now.
Oh God, we need to find a new tradition. Jesus. Okay. Let's go ahead on
Wait,
to.
wait, wait, wait,
Oh,
wait,
sorry.
wait.
Sorry. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
I want to transition now.
You go.
I don't mean I want to transition into a woman. I'm happy the way I am. I mean I want to transition to the next game. I'm sorry if that got.
I kind of picked up what you were putting down, but I appreciate you clarifying. Transition for us, please.
All right. I would make a beautiful woman. Anyhow, you mentioned the sex toy. I'm just going to go ahead and say the word, the dildo.
It was. It was.
Hayden and I. Hayden and I.
I'm interested to see where this is going.
Hayden and I both watched our teams get dildoed, so to speak, on Sunday.
There it is.
That is my transition for the day. We're going to talk about his team first, the lowly Philadelphia Eagles, who got slapped around by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 31-15 at Raymond James Stadium in a game that wasn't all that close.
No, and I appreciate you stopping me. That transition was much better than what I was going to come up with. The Eagles ended up making this a 2-possession game. Anybody with eyes who watched the game knows that it was not a 2-possession game. They got boat raced down there in Tampa. Tom Brady wins his 35th playoff game. He spent more than a year of his actual life, 469 nice days in the playoffs, being alive in the playoffs. He's just ridiculous. We've gushed over him in the past. I'm sure we'll continue to do that this year. Brady and Gronk just continue to be just an electric connection. Gronk scored his 15th touchdown in the postseason. It's the most by any tight end ever in NFL history. It was probably the easiest one that he's ever caught to, because nobody was even in the general vicinity. I don't even know if there was an Eagles player in the state of Florida on that play. This game sucked to watch from an Eagles fan's perspective. We'll talk more about it, but just, you were right, from the lowly Eagles fans' perspective, not fun.
No, and Philly did kind of overachieve this year at points. They kind of seemed to be in over their heads against the defending champs. That showed on Sunday. It was just a methodical effort by Brady and the Bucs. Tom Brady completed 29 of his 37 passing attempts, which was a Tampa Bay Buccaneers postseason record. 9 of them went to Mike Evans for 117 yards. That, too, the 9 receptions, was a Bucs postseason record. Tampa Bay's defense had 2 sacks, 3 takeaways, 6 tackles for loss. Just kind of a clinic across the board. They looked like the defending champs. The Eagles, most people thought their best chance to win would be to have some success on the ground. They were a very good rushing team all year long, but we saw that Tampa Bay's run defense remains very much formidable. The Eagles had the number 1 run offense in football this year. They were no match for Tampa's number 3 run D. The Eagles ran for 95 yards, which is 65 lower than their season average. Of course, some of that was game script. They were playing from behind most of the day. They couldn't necessarily run the ball the way they do, but that is mostly a testament to how well Tampa Bay played on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, the Eagles started the game with 17 total yards on offense in the first quarter. It was just really, really ugly to watch. Not really taking anything away from the game itself, but it is noteworthy that Jalen Hurts is 23 years old. It's a tough task for anybody to go in and play the defending Super Bowl champions and to play Tom Brady, who owns the playoffs. So, it's just something to consider. But I felt like the Eagles were outclassed in all phases of the games: offense, defense, special teams, and coaching. There really wasn't any creativity. There wasn't any ways that the Eagles were scheming open, like Devontae Smith. Dallas Goedert got involved, but they even brought it up on the broadcast. The Bucs were playing cover 3 pretty much the entire game. They had soft corners. You could throw short underneath stuff, take advantage of that, and kind of move the change, put together drives, and they just didn't do it. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost a few linemen who ended up coming back in the game. I think Tristan Wirfs and Ryan Jensen both ended up back in the game. Tristan Wirfs wasn't able to make it through. We'll see how significant that ankle injury is moving forward. Ryan Jensen's a beast. I feel like I commented about that to you while I was actually watching the game. To come back in after what looks like a really, really ugly injury in the second quarter, kudos to that guy. I thought that the way that the Buccaneers used tempo was something that hurt the Philadelphia Eagles. Their defensive linemen weren't even able to get into stances most of the time. They just kind of stayed in heavy personnel and just leaned on the Philadelphia Eagles, and they really had no answers. Also, shout out to Todd Bowles. That dude just dials up some blitzes. I know he had his struggles as a head coach in New York, but good Lord, that guy dials up some wild blitzes. You're looking for safeties, you're looking for corners. He's dropping Vita Vea in coverage. Like, what the hell are we doing here, Todd? It works for you. Good for them. But yeah, not a great outcome for the Philadelphia Eagles, my Philadelphia Eagles.
Right. Not unexpected either. And I did note to you that during the game, that it seemed anytime they did manage to do something good, they shot themselves in the foot with a penalty, a turnover soon thereafter. Jalen Reagor existing. That the Eagles do have a lot to improve in the offseason, especially in the receiving core. The secondary needs some work. That said, they do have 3 first-round picks to play with, so the cupboard's far from bare. They did manage to sneak into the playoffs and are maybe on an upward trajectory. It's just, you're going to need a week or two to smart before you could feel good about their future again.
Oh my God. Okay. So since we're on the Jalen Reagor thing, I just have to talk about how much I hate watching Jalen Reagor in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform. Never met the guy. I'm sure he is a lovely human being, but my God, is he not very good at football? Okay. Yesterday, he had 1 reception for 2 yards. He had 2 muffed punts, one of them which resulted in a turnover and then a subsequent Mike Evans touchdown. What's up?
Oh, I was.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, 2. 1 + 1 = math. Yeah, let me get back to bitching about Jalen Reagor. Compare Jalen Reagor's season stats. So on the season, Jalen Reagor has 33 receptions, 299 yards, and 2 touchdowns. We're going to compare that to Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs this year had 24 catches for 469 yards and 2 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, he went to prison in week 8 for killing a lady and her dog in their car. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Part of me feels bad for Jalen Reagor because he's always going to be compared to Justin Jefferson because of where he was drafted, right? On draft night, the Eagles picked Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. Everybody laughs them out of the building, and rightfully so. Jalen Reagor didn't ask to get picked before Justin Jefferson, but he is going to get compared to Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson's awesome. Jalen Reagor sucks. I want him gone yesterday. That's all I got.
Yeah, Jalen, what else can I say off that? Jalen Reagor stinks really bad. The Eagles beefed up. It is what it is. But on the bright side, the Dallas Cowboys are out of the playoffs too. We like that.
We do like that. Now, before we get into the actual game, we can't skip over the most important part. And I will ask you, did you watch the game on Nickelodeon?
No, I did not. I probably messed up.
Oh my God. Okay. So SpongeBob got to talking about the game before it actually happened. There was a slime monster that came up from out of the field. They compared the historic 49ers Cowboys rivalry to the rivalry between Mr. Krabs and Plankton. Sonic the Hedgehog made an appearance on the field. There was a halftime premiere of the show Big Nate on Paramount Plus. It was just delightful. I love watching football on Nickelodeon. It was awesome. You messed up by not doing so.
Yeah, it does sound lit. I did see some of the fun takeaways. I did see that slime monster you mentioned. I saw they superimposed like steam coming out of Mike McCarthy's ears right as the game ended, which is, boy, all-time body blow right at that point. Ouch. Like, and he went home and saw that and went, "Are you goddamn kidding?" Poor Mike McCarthy. And I also saw they gave Dak Prescott the MVP, which has become in 2 years a notorious troll award given to the loser of the Nickelodeon game. Just alt Nickelodeon out here is just pulling no punches, and I appreciate the hell out of that.
That's awesome.
Dak Prescott is a worthy MVP after his late game boo-boo. There are other things to talk about from this game, but we got to lead with the headliner, which was, of course, Dallas running a quarterback draw as they were attempting to drive for a tying or winning touchdown. That draw came with 14 seconds left on the clock. They had no timeouts. So they needed to advance the ball, get it set, spike it in order to get another down. You said you were trying to think of ways to justify or defend that about 20, 30 minutes ago. Did you come up with anything yet, or?
No, I haven't. No. And I am somebody who last year I defended the Jets sending an all-out blitz on the last play of the game against the Raiders where they ultimately lost. I found a way to defend that one. The timing, how much time was left, the situation, it didn't make any sense. And then the execution was just ridiculous as well. So you mentioned before, I am just a lowly high school coach. I am nobody who actually matters, right? Every Thursday, my high school team does what's called the NASCAR drill, where we get in our 2-minute offense. There's not a defense on the field, but we practice what you do in situations like that. And something we harp on is, if you can't get out of bounds, get down as quick as possible, because we need to conserve some clock, and then run the ball to the referee. You need to hand the ball to the referee. Dak Prescott forgot that the referee needs to spot the football. Like, if I'm a player, I can't just put the football down wherever I want and be like, no, Mr. Official, we're good. We're good. I'm just going to play it from right here. We're good. You take this play off. He hands the ball to a center. All of the linemen get set. They get set in their formation, but then the referee still has to spot the football, and it's a yard behind where they are. So they end up losing more time because of that. The whole thing was hilarious and just a total kerfuffle.
Yeah, I don't understand how that's not coached up better, because we've seen so many like head scratching blunders, including Chase Claypool's first down point earlier this year. It's unfortunate that we didn't do an episode after that, because I would have had a lot to say. I'm going to digress now, because I'm going on 30. I've matured a lot in those intervening months, so we're not going to harp on Chase too much. You idiot! Anyway, we're going to talk about more pertinent, more relevant, more current information, like the Cowboys' foolhardy decision to run a draw. If you're gonna do that, at least tell them beforehand. Get in Dak's ear in the headset, say, make sure you hand that ball to the official, directly to the official. Like you said, you can't pick your spot. That's not the way it works. That's not the way it's ever worked. It was a long shot for the Cowboys to win the game at that point, but they really shot themselves in the foot there, and that is going to be the lasting memory of their season, along with, as my mom has noted, so many crying fans. What in God's green earth? That woman they showed was crying with 4 minutes left. Dallas had all 3 timeouts. They were down by 6. You're still in it. You're still in the damn game. Why are you crying?
So, I mean, crying Dallas fans certainly makes me happy. You're right. It doesn't make any sort of sense. There was also another just hilarious sequence of events that happened in this game. So Dallas faked a punt, ended up getting the first down on the fake punt, and then they hurried up to the ball. Now, the reason that you hurry up to the ball and play with tempo is so the defense can't substitute, right? Are you going to hurry up and run a second fake punt on first down? So they hurry up, they get on the ball, and Mike McCarthy's like, wait, no, we're not going to freaking do this. Let's send the offense back out. It took all of the play clock to do that. They end up getting a delay of game. They start with a 1st and 15. That drive ends up getting 3 points instead of 6 points. Just absolutely hilarious. The Cowboys could not have shot themselves in the foot any more than they did yesterday.
And I loved the Niners defense's reaction to that play. They were just standing around like, okay, go ahead.
We're good here. Yeah.
You're going to let Brian Anger throw this? Sure. All right. We're not going to fall for it twice. Come on. And we haven't even mentioned the fact that they were penalized 14 times for 89 yards. The Cowboys did themselves no favors in this one. And that's kind of how we've led this. That's the national media's talking point, which is kind of doing a disservice to San Fran, who really played well. They ran the hell out of the ball. Elijah Mitchell had 27 carries for 96 yards and a touchdown. Deebo Samuel complimented him nicely with 10 carries for 72 yards and a touch, as well as 3 catches for 38 yards. Niners defense played very, very well. They had 5 sacks, an interception. They held Zeke Elliott to 31 rushing yards, and CeeDee Lamb had just 1 catch. So they were all over Dallas's stars from the jump. Kudos to them. And another thing, I thought they tackled so well. And boy, they really were sticking guys out there. The Niners defense is no joke. With that defense, that running game. Remember, this is a team that's just 2 years removed from the Super Bowl. I wouldn't be stunned if they went and beat Green Bay next week in Lambeau.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the defense as well. Their defensive coordinator is DeMeco Ryans, played a long time at linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Houston Texans. That dude is cooking with gas, man. He had pressure on Dak all night, like you mentioned. He has a way of manufacturing pressure while also hiding his shitty corners. Their cornerbacks are not very good. It's Emmanuel Mosley, Kawan Williams, and the ghost of Josh Norman passed. He just drops them in zone and lets Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa just go out there and Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa, one of the Bosses. Just lets him go out there and just kind of get after the quarterbacks. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. Some stats that I saw on the internet today that I would be remiss not to mention here, especially because I mentioned before that I do enjoy the sight of crying Dallas Cowboys fans. This is now the 11th straight playoff appearance for the Dallas Cowboys without them reaching the conference title game. That's the longest streak of all time. So kudos to you, Dallas. Also want to kind of just shout out some playoff wins. So in the last 25 seasons, Jake Delhomme has 5 playoff wins. Trent Dilfer has 5 playoff wins. Mark Sanchez has 4 playoff wins. Brad Johnson has 4 playoff wins. Colin Kaepernick has 4 playoff wins. The Dallas Cowboys have 3. I am very glad they didn't get another one yesterday.
My God. Yeah. Our football day was kind of a shit sandwich, but we had filet mignon in the middle because we got to watch plenty of Cowboys tears. We got to watch them get slapped around a little bit and blow it at home after being convincing all year long. In typical Cowboy fashion, I was admittedly surprised by this outcome, but boy, when you put it in perspective like that, I don't know why. We mentioned Tim Chandler earlier. As I said, he was a big Cowboys fan. I'm sorry, Tim, but it seems like perpetually the Cowboys are going to Cowboy, and I'm sure he was watching down on that game and laughing because it was business as usual.
It really was. So one final thing, and then we'll move on to the night game. Looking at how poorly the Cowboys were prepared to play, not just yesterday, but it seemed like the entire season they were super penalized. They had clock management issues pretty much all year. Should Mike McCarthy be fired after this game?
I've seen that talk. I've seen that rumor. And apparently the crux of it is Jerry Jones wants to hold on to Kellen Moore. He kind of sees him as the head coach to be. And I think if that's the case, if that's a deal breaker, then by all means, yeah, because Kellen Moore has been fantastic during his time as offensive coordinator. You look around the league, young guys like Brandon Staley, Kevin Stefanski, Sean McVay, Cliff Kingsbury are among the best coaches in football. Many others that I omitted, I'm sure. But there does seem to be a changing of the guard where a lot of youth is taken over and leaving their mark. Mike McCarthy did a good job. He had a strong coaching effort this year until the dud in the playoffs. I think he deserves work in the NFL, but I think if Kellen Moore is your guy, then make the move now.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at right now. You know, Mike McCarthy took some time away from the game, said that he just kind of sat in his barn the whole time and just studied how to manage the clock and how to coach in the modern NFL. And apparently none of that translated to the actual field. You know, Kellen Moore is phenomenal. He might be a mouth breathing eyesore to look at, but I mean, that dude can coach some football. I agree that if you are going to move on from Mike McCarthy, you do have to hire within. It also seems like Jerry Jones is somebody who wants to have his hands in the coaching and in decisions. That's been pretty apparent, right? That's why Jason Garrett was there for so long. His nickname was the Clapper because Jerry Jones just clapped and Jason Garrett did whatever he wants. So I don't know if anybody coming in from the outside, like the Brian Flores's or like the Todd Bowles or anybody else who's in the coaching conversations, I don't know if they're going to go in there and be okay with Jerry Jones kind of telling them what to do and how to do it and when to do it. So Kellen Moore probably makes the most sense for the next Cowboys coach if they do end up moving on from Mike McCarthy, but time will tell.
Yep. You mentioned Mike McCarthy possibly being past his prime. That does nothing to negate the solid coaching career he's had. The same could kind of go for Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who just appeared overmatched against a wonderkind, a budding dynasty in the Kansas City Chiefs. That was the cherry on top of the football day. The Pittsburgh Steelers, my Pittsburgh Steelers, went to Arrowhead and predictably got slapped around by the Kansas City Chiefs. Final score of 42-21, and the final wet fart of a game in Ben Roethlisberger's fantastic career.
Yeah, and it was a phenomenal career. I'm glad we got to see him win his last football game when we went to M&T Bank Stadium and see them beat the Ravens, which ultimately got them to play in this game. This was Patrick Mahomes' first ever wild card game. They've had a bye each of the last 3 seasons, so this was the first time that he had to play in the wild card game, and he went out and just showed out. He threw for 404 yards, which is a Kansas City Chiefs franchise record. Thought the Steelers had a power move going out, winning the toss and taking the football. I was like, hell yeah, I'm a big proponent on taking the football. I believe that you score more points with the football than without the football. It was awesome. But then you can't proceed to go 3 and out because then that decision doesn't look as good.
And gain 0 yards on top of that. Yeah, like you said, I'm glad we did get one more highlight going to Big Ben's last regular season game, his last dub. That fantastic finish in Baltimore. A lot of fun to watch, even if we got pelted with freezing rain for 3 to 4 hours. I'm glad I got one last positive Steelers memory. This did kind of seem inevitable, and it was what was expected. They did kind of trick me with some false hope early on. Their defense was game for a bit. They forced a few punts, a few takeaways early on. They even took an early lead on TJ Watt's fumble recovery, scoop and score. It was early in the second quarter, but I guess that was just like kicking a hornet's nest. All it really did was piss off the Chiefs. And after that, their onslaught became far too much for Pittsburgh to overcome. They scored, I believe, 5. I believe they went on 5 consecutive touchdown drives between the second and third quarters. So 7-0 Steelers very quickly turned into 35-7 Chiefs. At that point, turn out the lights, the party's over. My main takeaway, not that this is new, was Kansas City's offensive weaponry and creativity boggle the mind. While I was forced to watch Najee Harris run headfirst into loaded boxes and Big Ben throw 3-yard outs, Travis Kelce was throwing touchdowns and offensive linemen were catching them. Those were on separate plays. That was the second big man touchdown. You mentioned the first in the Bills-Pats game. That was the second one. I loved the first one. The second one smarted a little more. But, again, I had no clue he was eligible either. That was beautiful play design. The dude walloped TJ Watt, the defensive player of the year, and caught a touchdown thereafter. As far as lineman glory goes, that's one of the greatest lineman plays in NFL history.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. That's like, if I'm that guy, I am going and I am putting that on repeat. And I don't want to call him that guy. It was Nick Allegretti out of Illinois. Good for you, Nick. Well done. Like you mentioned, the offensive creativity in Kansas City is just ridiculous. Sometimes it does get in their way on that Darrell Williams double fumble that you mentioned TJ Watt took to the house. That was out of Wildcat with McCole Hartman touching the football. When you have Patrick Mahomes and you're paying him $500 million, you might want him to touch the football on every opportunity that you get, especially on the position of, or in the position of the field that they were in. But like you mentioned, that was just kind of kicking the hornet's nest. The Chiefs have so many weapons, dude. Patrick Mahomes hit 8 different receivers yesterday, tried for a 9th as well. Just absurd. Eric Bieniemy, what he does there with Andy Reid. It's tough to stop. It's if you're a defensive coordinator, I don't know how you do it. Todd Bowles figured it out last year, but good luck to everybody else in the playoffs. Something else that happened in this game, Tech 9 was the halftime show. I know you didn't watch it because you had some halftime adjustments to make. Just to let you know what you missed, he came out, started with Riot Maker, went on to Einstein, then went to Don't Nobody Want None, played Red Kingdom, and then ended with Face Off. I'm not a huge fan of that song, but it is popular. Tech 9.
Yeah, The Rock, though, I'm wearing his T-shirt is something of a corny rapper. I do appreciate the collab because The Rock and Tech 9 were both childhood heroes of mine. Congrats, Tech and Nina. Your team was better on the day. I'm glad you got to play on that stage after a 30-plus year rap career. It's deserved. I saw on Instagram that was the biggest crowd he'd ever played in front of course, 60-plus thousand. You're not going to fit that into most concert venues. So, again, good for the Nina, good for Mahomes, nothing unexpected. I'm glad Big Ben's box score doesn't look as bad as the game actually was. Oh, my, I'm looking at where we keep the stats here. Boy, did I typo. My Ben Roethlisberger stats, 29 of 44, 415 yards, not on his life. Big Ben would need a month to throw 415 yards in 2021.
Yeah, that was 215 yards, just a hair shy of that.
Anyways, the Chiefs should get a much more game foe next week against the Buffalo Bills. I'm looking forward to that one. That should be fireworks galore. And it is right. They were one of the best teams in the AFC this year. They'll be advancing. I will take my ball and go home and watch as a fan. Sometimes it's nice to not have the stress. And this Steelers year was stressful. I don't know what the future holds. I'm sad their season went out kind of with a whimper, but it was it was fun at points. This isn't an all-time season, but hell, I'm glad Big Ben got another 60 minutes to play.
Yeah, go out on his own terms. Not everybody gets to do that. Just a phenomenal career that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Like you mentioned, next week Buffalo goes to Kansas City. Cincinnati's going to travel up to Tennessee, so certainly some good football in the AFC. Moving forward in the NFC, San Francisco is going to go up to Green Bay next week, and then the winner of tonight's game, the Arizona Cardinals and the LA Rams, is going to have to go to Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay, Florida. Certainly some stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, I guess we should have mentioned that at some point. We won't be talking about the Monday night leg of the wild card weekend because it hasn't happened yet. And well, Hayden and I have schedules and responsibilities. We're adults too. Get over it. Anyway, all right. I guess we'll jump ahead to the fun stuff.
If you made it this far, you might as well stick around. I mean, made it this far.
I kind of just shat on the Pittsburgh Steelers a little bit because I asked still kind of in the doldrum, lousy, just came off a uninspiring playoff loss mood. So I'll have to try to amp it back up before I ask this. Our hike it or spike it. Hike it, of course, meaning we agree. Spike it, meaning we disagree. Number one, Ben Roethlisberger is top 10 all time. You go first. Go ahead.
Okay. So his career statistically was one of the best, top 10 in pretty much every category that you could be top 10 in, with statistics, passing touchdowns, passing yards, regular season wins, playoff wins. He had an 18 season career, had 2 Super Bowl wins within it. When I first considered this, I thought to myself, he is top 10. And I had a caveat like 4 now. But then as I started to go back and think about it, like the shelf life of an NFL quarterback is not like 18 years is not normal, right? So a lot of the records that he has and a lot of the statistics that he's put up, they're going to be cemented for quite some time. We have young quarterbacks now who seemingly will end up playing long and fruitful careers. But as far as Ben Roethlisberger being top 10 all time, I would say he is. Yeah.
All right. Unsurprisingly, I am going to hike that one as well. That might.
I hike it. Damn it! I forgot to say that. That's the whole point of the freaking game. I hike it. Yes,
we hike it. Yeah. But like you said, the guy's top 10 in literally everything. Longevity, there is something to be said for that. I think, given the statistical numbers he has and the success he had in terms of win percentage, Big Ben is top 10 all time in literally everything. Like it or not, that has to count for something. I feel like some people would say he simply didn't pass the eye test, but for me, I'm giving him the nod over. I'm going to say some names here that might stun you. I'm giving him the nod over Brett Favre. He didn't have the same penchant for turnovers. The only thing Brett Favre has, in my opinion, is longevity. Big Ben, I think, has the edge in almost every other category. I'm giving him the nod over John Elway. Check the numbers. He's much better. I'm giving him the nod over Terry Bradshaw. I'm giving him the nod over Steve Young. So you mentioned you go for like the top 10 names. We got Brady, obviously. We got Manning. We got Breeze. We got Rodgers. That's the modern era. Before that, you're going to have to put Joe Montana in there. You're going to have to put
the guy who's still playing in Tampa Bay, probably.
I didn't say Tom Brady.
You might have. I was reading. Tom Brady's in there. Regardless, Tom Brady's in there. Yeah.
I'm gonna say Dan Marino, probably. Although that one I think is closer than people will admit. I'm at 6 right now, and I'm having a hard time coming up with any that are surefire. There's arguments to be made for other guys, but for me, Big Ben has to be in that top 10 discussion after the remarkable career he's put forth.
Yeah, I mean, some of these numbers are just ridiculous, like 64,000 passing yards or like 418 touchdowns. Again, it doesn't happen by accident. You're right. The eye test is something that people could look at as like a con or something. But I mean, Ben Roethlisberger was nothing but productive. This year withstanding, obviously, as you start to come down, your body just father time is unbeaten. But kudos to Ben Roethlisberger on an awesome career, probably top 10 all time.
Yep, he went out his way. It wasn't always pretty, but boy, was it effective. All the man did was win games. I'm appreciative to have watched him do so for so long, and I'm petrified of what the future holds for the Steelers at the quarterback position. God willing, it won't be Mason Rudolph.
Give us Mason Rudolph, yes.
From one goat to another, here's our number 2. Hike it or spike it. SpongeBob SquarePants is the greatest Nickelodeon show of all time. What do you got?
Yeah, so SpongeBob SquarePants has been on forever. SpongeBob currently has 265 episodes. The next closest is All That with 205 yards. Some honorable mentions as well, like Hey Arnold hit 100 episodes. Fairly Odd Parents hit 172. Nice. And the Rugrats hit 171. Given the longevity, I'm going to hike this one. I'm going to say SpongeBob is the greatest Nickelodeon show of all time. It's one of the most quotable shows of all times. Even if you don't like SpongeBob, there are pieces of SpongeBob that you're going to say without even realizing that you're quoting SpongeBob. It's just a delight to watch. And this kind of goes back to the game being on Nickelodeon yesterday and SpongeBob talking about the game before it happened. SpongeBob is one of my all-time favorite shows. I'm hiking this one.
In the interest of being contrarian, in the interest of offering a differing opinion, we've been hike so far. I'm gonna go against the grain, and it's kind of a soft Dak Prescott spike. Maybe it came a hair too late to even count. I wrestled with this decision for a while when I saw this question because boy, it's a doozy. And you mentioned longevity, quotability. SpongeBob has a lot of nods, accolades. One of the greatest children's programs of all time. Obviously, one of the most popular. I hate how I unironically say program now because of Coach O.
Yes.
Anyway, it's become part of my lexicon. I don't want to get too far off track. I know what I just said was bold, spiking SpongeBob as the greatest, but I'm not doing so to say it's not. It's more of like a not unequivocally, because those other shows you mentioned were all wagons as well. Hey Arnold, Fairly Odd Parents, Rugrats. Another one I want to throw into the mix is Jimmy Neutron.
Oh,
Short-lived. I looked
yeah.
it up yesterday. I believe it was only something like 60 or 70 episodes, but Jimmy Neutron was a lot of fun. Who didn't love Sheen and Carl? There's still some quotability there. So for me, it's kind of like when people want to say Michael Jordan is the GOAT. I understand that completely, but I think there's a worthy argument to be made for LeBron. I don't know if there's a LeBron to SpongeBob's Michael Jordan, but among that crew, you could pick your favorite. I think there's too much variance, too many other worthy offerings from Nickelodeon to crown SpongeBob. You can roast me in the comments if you like.
Huh. That's fair. I did not consider Jimmy Neutron. I was a huge Jimmy Neutron fan. The movie was just phenomenal. I remember watching that at the Gateway movie theater way back in the day. Just a phenomenal movie. But yeah, okay. So we can differ. That's fine. If you have any opinions, let us know. Now, naturally, it would not be us if we didn't talk about stuff that we could eat, right? We are friends who like food. We are, dare I say it, taste buds. So thank you. I heard that one today. I even put that in the document that I'm reading from right now. Super cordial, loved it. So our start one, sit one, cut one. We're going to go the Taco Bell route. This actually made me get Taco Bell for lunch when I wasn't considering getting Taco Bell for lunch. We're going to start one, sit one, cut one with the Doritos Locos Taco, the Crunchwrap Supreme, and the Cheesy Fiesta Potatoes. I'll put this one back on you, buddy. Start one, sit one, cut one.
The way God damn it, don't emphasize the you and Supreme. He's making fun of me. That's what he's doing. He's making fun of me. He says I say Supreme funny. I don't hear it. Anyway, I'm going to take them in the order you said them. Start one, the Doritos Locos Taco. It's so versatile. You can eat it on the go. It's budget friendly at under $2. It tastes like goddamn Doritos. It's a Taco Bell taco that tastes like Doritos. It's perfect. It's the best add-on to any meal. It's better than McDonald's French fries, if you ask me. I'll get a Doritos Locos Taco every day of the week. That's my start. Easy. That's the GOAT. That's SpongeBob. That's Michael Jordan. That's Big Ben Roethlisberger. Doritos Locos Taco, number one. And my sit, still got a part on my team, but not the starter, is the Crunchwrap Supreme. Obviously, another classic in the Taco Bell hierarchy. It's never going out of style. It was groundbreaking when it debuted, and it has stood the test of time. Crunchwrap Supreme, a strong sit, just not going to edge out the Dorito Taco. And then my cut, the Cheesy Fiesta Potato, another Taco Bell classic. My problem, not enough protein. It's a fine appetizer or a side dish, but I'm here for the gains. I need something with a little more protein and that fine grade D but edible Taco Bell beef. Cheesy Fiesta Potatoes, you're a worthy contender. I'm sorry, but you're not making the cut. I got to admit, this is about the toughest one of these we ever did, though.
Wow. I did not see that order coming, even though that was the order that they were written in. I want to preface this by telling you to apologize to your spouses or to your children. I'm sure this is going to have you throwing things across the room. If you are driving a car, you might want to pull over so that you don't just lose your mind and start swerving into oncoming traffic. I am starting the cheesy fiesta potatoes. Now, here's why. Today, I mentioned I got Taco Bell for lunch. I only got one of these items that are on the list, and it was the cheesy fiesta potatoes. Now, the reason for this also is because there's stuff on the menu that's better than both of the other options here. There's stuff on the menu that's better than the Doritos Locos Taco and the Crunchwrap Supreme. I would take a quesarito. Now, here's what you got to do. You got to go on the app. You swap out the beef for steak in the quesarito, take off the chipotle sauce, put on the jalapeno sauce. Trust me, you're going to thank me. That is going to get the nod for me over the other two options anyway. And every time I get to check out on the app, it's always like, do you want to add cheesy fiesta potatoes? I'm like, hell yeah, I want to add cheesy fiesta potatoes. $1.69. I don't care. Yeah, I've made of money. I'm an educator. Yeah, of course I want to add cheesy fiesta potatoes, right? Also, you mentioned the protein. One of our We Like Football listeners got me onto this. I don't do this quite often, but he added steak to his cheesy fiesta potatoes. Pretty good. But I'm starting the cheesy fiesta potatoes. I am going to sit the Crunchwrap Supreme. You're right. It was groundbreaking. It is one of their staples, the foundation of Taco Bell. But again, I don't usually get a Crunchwrap Supreme because I usually get some of the other options on their menu. The Doritos Locos Taco has its place. However, I'm going to cut that one because if I'm going to get a Doritos Locos Taco, I'm going to get a Doritos Locos Taco in a cheesy gordita crunch. You put that soft shell on the outside with the cheese in it. Just phenomenal with the sauce in there. This one was a little bit easier for me than I would have thought. We are on totally opposite sides of this one, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, starting the cheesy fiesta potatoes. Again, apologize to your spouses for all the stuff that's being broken into your living rooms right now.
This was kind of illuminating. Here I thought we couldn't be more alike. Turns out we couldn't be any different. That said, I think I'm going to go get some Taco Bell. Until next time, thanks for watching. We like you. We like Taco Bell. We like football.
We like football.